Be warned, this video contains spoilers. A glass orb is seen shattering and rays shoot across the world. One of them hits a tree where a demon Menomaru is sealed and his seal is broken, releasing him. Then the scene changes and a long white-haired demon, Sesshomaru, is walking by and is attacked by two women named Ruri and Hari. They attack him on the orders of Menomaru, who needs the sword to open up the seal. They are slashed by him and he walks on. Hari and Ruri hear a voice that tells them to search for the right sword, as the one he has is not strong enough that could break the seal completely. The scene changes to inside a shrine where Sota is looking for his grandfather to eat breakfast and finds him standing under a blossoming tree. While eating breakfast, Sota's grandfather tells him that the tree had not blossomed for 500 years as a half-demon was sealed there. Meanwhile, Kagome makes lunch, claiming omelette to be her specialty. Kagome is praised by her mother for making delicious food, whereas her brother, Sota, teases her. As her grandfather tells the story of the demon being trapped in a tree, Kagome happily tells the family of her releasing INUY4SH4, due to which the tree blooming now. Kagome runs towards the shrine, narrating her experience of finding the well in the shrine. She says that she could travel back to a feudal era by jumping in that well. In the next scene, a demon slayer, Sango, and her reliable monster companion Kurara, a flirtatious monk Miroku, INUY4SH4, and a fox demon Shippo are seen overlooking a scorpion emerging from the earth. INUY4SH4 attacks the demon scorpion recklessly as he claims it possesses a sacred jewel shard. Meanwhile, Kagome climbs out of a well and narrates that the feudal era had a lot of demons and monsters. INUY4SH4 had a demon father and a human mother, making him a half-demon, and was sealed to a tree, during which a jewel necklace he was wearing fell and was swallowed by a bird. Kagome unknowingly hunted the bird, and the jewel inside the bird shattered into pieces. Any demon possessing the jewel got immense power. Now Kagome, along with INUY4SH4 and their demon friends, including Miyoga, an old flea demon, are searching for all the jewel shards. All the demons fight the scorpion monster unsuccessfully. INUY4SH4 fights with the scorpion, but he is unsuccessful to win. Shippo also tells them that without Kagome there is no hope for him. Just then, Kagome arrives at the scene on a bicycle. She apologizes for being late. She was making bento lunches for everyone. INUY4SH4 taunts her for being late, and also taunts her for typical woman behavior. Kagome gets angry at INUY4SH's demeaning comment. As both of them are bickering, the scorpion is seen coming towards Kagome. Kagome screams frantically, looking at the scorpion coming towards her. As the scorpion is about to attack her, INUY4SH saves her and brings her to a safe spot. INUY4SH asks Kagome if she can spot the jewel shard. She points to the location of the jewel shard inside the scorpion's tail. Sango cuts off the tail and INUY4SH dissipates the head of the tail with a sword. Kagome manages to retrieve the jewel, while Miroku sucks the rest of the scorpion through his wind tunnel palm. Menomaru, inside a cave, tells Ruri and Hari to go and bring him INUY4SH's sword Tetsueka. After the battle, everyone sits down to eat the lunch Kagome has made. INUY4SH doesn't appreciate her cooking, and that annoys her. Everyone finishes off all the food, and INUY4SH takes out ramen from Kagome's backpack. Angered, Kagome orders INUY4SH to sit multiple times, which sends him face first into the ground. Kagome then cycles away, sulking to herself. Kurara starts whimpering because of the toxins inside a cut it got from the scorpion. Miyoga tries to help, but Kurara runs off. Sango and Miroku run after him. They come to a clearing where Kurara is sleeping on Hari's lap. Ruri and Hari had lured Sango and Miroku and captured them. Ruri duplicates Miroku's wind tunnel and tries to suck them in. They are saved by an arrow aimed at the women by Lady Keed, an old woman. Hari and Ruri take Kurara, who is under their spell, and head off to the forest of no return. Miroku and Sango decide to follow them, but Lady Keed tells them to be careful. In the next scene, Kikyo, the woman who had sealed INUY4SH and used to be his friend, is walking through a misty forest and reaches the sacred tree. She senses that a calamity is approaching and wonders if something is after INUY4SH. Kagome comes across her but hides. When she comes out, Kikyo is gone. She climbs up the tree and realizes it's the sacred tree where she had met INUY4SH and where INUY4SH and Kikyo had parted ways. She touches the tree bark and scratches her finger. INUY4SH comes just at that moment by following Kikyo's scent and her soul-eating demons. As INUYASHA bandages Kagom's finger, he sniffs around asking if there was anyone else other than her. Kagom realizes at that very moment that INUYASHA was sniffing for Kikyo. Kagom feels sad as she has feelings for INUYASHA, but realizes that Kikyo and INUYASHA still love each other and there's no room for her. As Kagom and INUYASHA are about to leave, they are surrounded by muffs that eat humans. INUYASHA tells Kagom to cover her nose until he defeats all of them or she'll faint. INUYASHA follows the moth with his sword to kill them. The moths gather around, and a demon appears introducing himself as Menamaru. Menamaru attacks INUYASHA, aiming to get his sword. As they both battle, INUYASHA loses his sword, and it lands in the mud. Looking at Kagom, INUYASHA realizes that he needs to hurry as she would not be able to survive long. Kagom faints as she couldn't hold her breath much longer. As INUYASHA moves towards Menamaru, he blows moths towards him, making it difficult for INUYASHA to concentrate. Menamaru takes advantage of the situation and stabs INUYASHA, who falls to the ground unconscious. Menamaru tries to take INUYASHA's sword, but is disappointed as it is protected by a barrier and cannot be borne by anyone else. He decides to capture Kagom instead, as bait. INUYASHA wakes up to Shippo and Miyoga, who have bandaged him. Shippo inquiries about the whereabouts of Miroku, Sango, and Kagom. INUYASHA looks around and sees Kagom's bicycle in the tree and realizes that Kagom has been captured by Menamaru. In a state of panic, Miyoga asks INUYASHA if he was sure it was Menamaru. Miyoga tells them the tale of Hyoga, who a demon from a continent, and his son Menamaru was. Miyoga explains dramatically the ferocious fight between INUYASHA's father and Hyoga. His seal must have broken, and he is now out to avenge his father. He further says that Menamaru must be in the forest of no return on the Tree of Ages. INUYASHA then runs towards the forest of no return. In the forest, Menamaru tells his army that he was unable to gain the fang to break the seal as there was a barrier, and they needed to lure INUYASHA here to the tree to break the seal. Menamaru tells Hari and Ruri about INUYASHA being half-human and his attraction towards Kagom. Menamaru asks Hari to take over Kagom as he has an idea to capture INUYASHA. Hari tries to take over her body but fails, saying Kagom must be a priestess. Menamaru then hands her a shard of the jewel to enhance her power. As the jewel is used to possess Kagom, she wakes up, breaking the roots around her. Menamaru and his clan, looking at Kagom getting released easily from the ropes, realize that she has spiritual powers. Kagom looks at Kurara and notices something wrong with him. Kagom picks up a bow and arrow and threatens to return Kurara to normal. Hari orders the moths to attack Kagom, but she is saved by Sango's weapon. Sango and Miroku arrive at the scene and are shocked to see Kagom there as well. Sango and Miroku battle with Ruri and Hari to save Kurara and Kagom. Meanwhile, the battle is going on. Kagmo shoots an arrow at Menamaru to scare him but misses him. Menamaru laughs and runs to attack Kagom with speed. As Menamaru is about to attack Kagom, INUYASHA comes right at that moment and attacks him with his Tetsuega. Hari and Ruri escape the scene by taking Kaira along with them. INUYASHA keeps on battling with Menamaru, injuring him with his sword. Menamaru falls to the ground, and everyone believes him to be dead. INUYASHA believed to have defeated Menamaru, however, to everyone's surprise, the roots of the tree flash, and Menamaru rises again, claiming he is immortal. Miyoga tells that even though Hyoga's physical body had perished, his power was sealed while Menamaru was trying to get to be the most powerful demon. INUYASHA becomes adamant to defeat Menamaru and release his ultimate power, but ends up slashing the seal around the orb that held Hyoga's power. The whole place collapses due to this, and the team barely manages to escape. Menamaru performs the succession ceremony to take over Hyoga's power to become even more powerful. INUYASHA recklessly attacks the orb and keeps attacking unsuccessfully, trying to get Menamaru, now Hyoga, to come out of the orb. Menamaru threatens not to try as he has gained excessive power, and INUYASHA does not have any idea. Hyoga releases his power and attacks them, and they are sent flying, causing immense destruction. Miyoga tells them that Menamaru is the new Hyoga and is more powerful than the previous Hyoga, and it will be impossible to kill him. Hyoga then calls everyone who worships him to bring him the souls of all living beings. The Tree of Ages that holds the orb suddenly grows. Human-eating moths fly to every village and bring Hyoga human souls, causing his power to increase. The people in the present civilization feel shocked and scared to see moths flying. As the moths sprinkle the dust, people started to faint and their souls went flying to Hyoga. Lady Cade casts a spell and puts a barrier to save her village from the moths. After the barrier comes down, Kagome and Shippo wobble into the village and faint. Sesshomaru, his demon friends, Rin and Jaken encounter the moth, but Jaken defeats them. Sesshomaru realizes that Menamaru has been resurrected. Miroku and Sango survive and hide in a cave with a demon friend Hachi. Sango decides to rescue Kurara and Miroku accompanies her, not wanting his wind tunnel to be used for evil purposes. Hachi seems reluctant to go with Miroku and Sango, but they take him along. Inuyasha is seen trying to walk, but due to his injury, he stumbles on the ground. Ryoga warns Inuyasha of the danger by Hyoga and advises him to run away as Hyoga has waited for 200 years to take revenge. Inuyasha becomes enraged at this thought and tells Myoga that he shall fight with Hayato, and looks at the Tree of Ages with anger in his eyes. Souls from all over come to Hyoga and he feels the power. In his rage, decides to teach Inuyasha a lesson and releases his magic. On the other end, Kagome restlessly burns with a fever and asks Lady Cade for water. As she gets up, Hari's power within Kagome awakens and she cannot control her body and slashes Lady Cade. Inuyasha crosses a foggy bridge when he sees Kagome coming from the other side. As Inuyasha runs towards her, Kagome's inner voice tells him to stay away. Inuyasha tells Kagome to go rest, but Kagome hugs him. Inuyasha hugs her back, comforting her, but little does he know that Kagome is possessed and she stabs him. He realizes she's being manipulated by Hyoga. The bridge collapses, and as Inuyasha falls, Kagome goes after him, attacking him. An inner voice of Kagome keeps telling Inuyasha that he needs to be away from her, but Inuyasha gets furious at everyone telling him to run. He gets pinned to a tree and Kagome tries her best to not reach the arrow, however she is unable to control herself and stabs Inuyasha. That night, Sango and Miroku travel on Hachi, a demon, toward the orb. Sango slashes the orb with her blade and Menamaru gets distracted. He loses his attention by calling the souls to him simultaneously. His control over Kagome weakens and the piece of crystal comes out of her head, making her conscious. She screams and runs towards Inuyasha, who is unconscious. She hugs him and starts to apologize for stabbing him. She is devastated when Kikyo arrives, telling her to leave as she is from another time, and she is the reincarnation of Kikyo, following her footsteps. She tells Kagome that the Tree of Ages takes power from other generations of time to mature, and the rest of the generations must have frozen, and her era must be facing a never-ending winter as well. On the other end, Miroku tries to suck the orb into his wind tunnel palm, but Ruri arrives to battle him. Hari, along with Kurara, attacks Sango. Kagome's grandfather is cleaning the shrine and shivers in the cold and gets sad about the withering flowers that had just blossomed on the sacred tree. The well that Kagome uses to time travel starts sprouting as it was made up of the wood from the Tree of Ages. She is told by Kikyo that if she doesn't leave, her way back will be blocked forever. Kikyo screams at Kagome to leave this era when she hesitates, not wanting to leave Inuyasha, but falls inside accidentally. She arrives in her world blanketed in snow. In her world, her grandfather and Soda are sitting in front of the tree praying with the belief that the tree has the power to solve problems. Kagome looks at the tree and her eyes well up because the tree reminds her of Inuyasha and her first encounter with him. Her mother brings her a cape to keep her warm, and they end up talking the way the tree was with them in their good and bad times. At that moment, the piece of crystal in Kagome's neck shines, indicating she is still connected to the feudal era. On the other end, Miroku fights with Ruri. Both of them use the wind tunnel. Ruri slaps her hand against Miroku, stopping the wind tunnel. Ruri inserts her hand in Miroku's body and clenches his heart. In pain, Miroku pushes her back. On the other side, Sango fights with Hari to get Kaira back, but she is unsuccessful. Kurara, under the spell of Hari, attacks Sango. Sango tries multiple times to talk Kurara out of it, but Kurara fights with Sango merciless. Sango uses her dagger to bury Hari under the trees, but Kaira saves her. Kikyo stands at a distance overlooking the land when Sesshomaru arrives and asks her whether she hates Kagome or is she testing Kagome's powers, to which she replies she hates everything that relies on the flow of time. He tells her to do as she pleases, as he will be the one to kill Inuyasha. His partners Rin and Taken ask him about leaving Kikyo alive, and he tells them that she is not a threat as she is already dead. Lady Cade travels on top of Shippo along with Myoga to the Tree of Ages as she realizes that Kagome was under a spell as her eyes were blazing. Upon reaching, she sees that the tree has gone berserk and the well is covered up. If left unchecked, their whole world will be swallowed up. Miyoga senses the presence of INUY4SH4 and runs off to where INUY4SH4 is. Miroku and Ruri continue to battle to see whose wind tunnel wins, but Ruri's wind tunnel ends up swallowing her. Sango battles with Hari and says her bond with Kirara is not of power or control. Sango tries to break the spell of Hari on Kirara by looking into his eyes. Once she tries to break the spell, Kirara bumps his head in multiple places with force, breaking the jewel. As Hari attacks Sango with her power, Kirara runs to her to rescue her. Sango and Kirara team up, killing Hari. Sango unites with Miroku, who feels weak due to using his power of wind tunnel. Miroku tells Sango about the increasing demonic aura of Hago. On the other end, Lady Ki tells Shippo that only Kagome or Kikyo can stop this tree because of their spiritual power. On the other end, Miyoga tries to make INUY4SH4 conscious. INUY4SH4 wakes up and the first thought which comes to him is about Kagome. Kagome, on the other hand, stands near the tree with a crystal shard in her hand. Kagome finds she can communicate with INUY4SH4. INUY4SH4 tells Kagome that he needs her and wants her to come back. He then tells her to use the arrow from the sacred tree bark to clear her way through the overgrown well. She manages to blast away the sprouts and enters their world. On the other end, INUY4SH4 tries to blast the sprouts with his sword. Both INUY4SH4 and Kagome end up clearing the sprouts and Kagome enters the feudal era again. Once Kagome enters there, INUY4SH4 returns to his old self and starts to argue with Kagome. Shippo complains about INUY4SH4 behavior, to which Lady Ki tells him that they were back to normal. As Kagome and INUY4SH4 are bickering amongst themselves, Miyoga comes running to talk about Menomaru absorbing the souls of every human being. Shippo, Miyoga, INUY4SH4, and Kagome run toward the orb that is breaking. The crystal ball breaks into pieces, which reveals a gigantic Menomaru. He has grown wings, and through his wings, hordes of demons come out to attack. Sango and Miroku arrive at the scene as well. Miyago tells them that the demons were of a continent and instructs INUY4SH4 that the only way to defeat Menomaru is by combining the power of his sword Tetsuega and the arrow of Kagome. He then flees the situation, leaving both of them to fight with Menomaru. While the rest attack the oncoming demons, Kagome and INUY4SH4 try to attack Menomaru. As Kagome shoots her arrow, INUY4SH4 finds an opening and slashes it, but only manages to scratch the surface. Angered, Menomaru releases his demonic aura and annihilates everything in his way to quiet distance. INUY4SH4 thinks of a way to defeat Menomaru. Kagome tells Menomaru's aura centers around his forehead and aims her arrow there. Her arrow misses and hits one of Menomaru's wings, which gets destroyed. He becomes even angrier and more reckless and attacks once again. Kagome is blown off and is saved by Kirara and Sango, who bring her to INUY4SH4. He tells Kagome to aim at Menomaru's forehead once again, and he'll release a backlash wave once again. Trusting each other, they make their combined attack, and it hits Menomaru's forehead, and he dies. All of them hop onto Hachi. They see the tree collapse. Miroku explains that it is normal for the tree to turn into ashes as it had grown in inappropriate size due to Hayago's curse. If you enjoyed this recap, check out the next episode.